Awesome. I think this is definitely futuristic technology we're dealing with. And now we're going into another channel and strategy that it's not so much that futuristic, but I think it's completely underestimated in how you can combine emails and paid advertising to increase like success, increase conversion, return on ad spend. So with that said, I'm going to bring Lisa on screen from Springbot. Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, Derek. How are you doing?
Hey, doing good. I'm really looking forward to this final closing. We'll call it a keynote closing session. I'll let you introduce yourself and take it away.
Okay, great. Well, Derek, really excited to be here. My name is Lisa Ng, and I work at Springbot. We're a marketing automation platform designed for SMB retailers, not unlike many of you here today. We take email, online ads, SMS, social, blogging, and more, and we combine it into one consolidated experience. And I'm here to talk to you about two components, mainly email marketing and online ads. So with that, I'll go ahead and kick things off. Can I go ahead and present, Derek?
Yeah, you should be able to share your screen and then I'll bring it up. Is it?
One sec.
Close those 400 other tabs you have open.
Perfect.
Got it here. Right on. And we're full screen. Looks great.
All right, great. All right, let's go ahead and get started. First, thank you all for hanging in there. I know this is the last session of the day, like Derek mentioned. So late afternoon for you guys on the West Coast and early evening, I guess, if you're here with me in the Eastern time zone. In today's session, I'm going to talk to you guys specifically about email and paid online ads, not because the other channels that I mentioned are unimportant, but because email marketing and online ads are what we believe to be very foundational channels that drive the marketing funnel. And they're especially important for newer stores that are just looking to get started, which is kind of a core base for Springbot. More on that in a moment. For the agenda today, we're going to talk through both these channels separately and then go through why they work so well in tandem. Then we'll go through a more practical application for this session, which is what are some optimization tips that you can take with you? Many of you on this call work on small marketing teams, and some of you just do it all, and marketing is just one part of that. For me, I worked on a lot of small marketing teams, so I can definitely relate to the feeling of wanting to do so much at once, but not really having the time. So to alleviate that, we're going to go through the most impactful things you can do to help you decide where to best spend your time. And we'll end with examples that will deconstruct and through the lens of kind of the best practices that we discuss. And then to wrap it up, I'll try to take any questions you have. And if I don't have the answers for you today, I'll take it back to my brilliant team and you can DM me. Does that sound good? Awesome.
Perfect.
All right. I like to start off with a question. The first thing you might be wondering is why email? It's 2021. Email has been around for almost a half century at this point, and this is the future of e-commerce marketing. Those are all fair points, but there's a good reason for this. Despite the claims every year that email is dead, it still continues to kill it. Let's take a look at the reason for that a little more deeply. Now, these are pretty current stats on email marketing today, and a big reason for why email is the usage behind it. When we look at the US, 90% of the population over the age of 15 has email. So when you talk about channel ubiquity, nothing else comes close to touching that. Another crazy stat, 99% of the people who have email admit to checking their email at least once a day. Maybe that's school or work related, maybe it's personal, maybe it's just a compulsion thing because you don't have your notifications turned off. But the point is, this is a channel that's here to stay. Not only that, but as it applies to e-commerce, 49% of customers actually say they want to hear from brands weekly. That buffers the case for email as a content delivery platform, and one for building customer relationships, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. And lastly, there are a lot of studies that calculate payback and ROI for email marketing. And the most recent figures put it at 4,200%, or if you think about it another way, $42 for every dollar spent. It's pretty good ROI. That's not one of the highest in terms of channel ROI. And 59% of marketers can validate that. All really compelling data for why email marketing remains foundational to any e-commerce strategy. So the next natural question is why online ads, and specifically why paid ads? The big reason is that online ads are a great channel for driving qualified traffic to your site. You can be really targeted in a way that's just not possible with other organic channels. It's also a good way to test and amplify your content. You can do this with other channels, but paid ads have the benefit of providing quicker feedback. You can test kind of different ad sets for imagery, for copy, even CTAs, and get kind of that instant feedback for what's working, and then deploy it in your other channels. The other reason is there are also limits when it comes to organic reach. It takes a lot of time to build good SEO. And when you look at social platforms, particularly Facebook, recent algorithm updates have made it harder to reach a large audience organically, and it's becoming harder and harder. So another part of the equation is we can't ignore timing. The way that we spend our time is drastically shifted since the pandemic. And a big part of that shift, has moved actually to online and digital media consumption. Think Netflix, online news, publication, and yes, shopping. E-commerce has definitely benefited from this lift. And this is a global phenomenon. If we carve that up, in the US alone, it translated to over $200 billion in online sales, which represents a 32% increase quarter over quarter from Q3 alone. That's not to say that e-commerce as a whole fared well. Some industries like household goods, hair care, categories in food and beverage saw double-digit growth, and others took a considerable hit. But when we take a more granular look at growth for sites tied to popular digital advertising channels like Facebook and YouTube, there's a noticeable spike that correlates to the timeline of when the first US COVID case first appeared. So that's that line that we see right here. And you notice that big spike. So really the picture that emerges is that people in quarantine are spending more time online, and they're spending some of that time in places that serve ad platforms or are part of these larger ad networks. And that's translated into some big increases in sales for some retailers. A lot of experts and analysts don't think this is a short-term shift, but that the preference for buying online is one that'll likely stick. So this represents both an opportunity and a shift in strategy for us marketers. All right. Now that you understand a little bit more about the way we're thinking about email marketing and online advertising as standalone channels, I want to talk a little bit more about why the two of them work so well in tandem. Here's a look at a simplified marketing funnel. Most marketers are already familiar with this, and if you're not, it's a really great way of breaking down and simplifying the customer journey all the way from the awareness stage, when customers first learn about your business, to the nurture stage, which is where the relationship between the customer and the store really starts to build. And finally, to the conversion stage, when you've gained the trust of that customer and you're ready to buy that product or service. Now, on the left side of this funnel, you can follow the little icons for ads and emails in each stage of the funnel and think through your own path to purchase. It's probably not going to be this linear, and these certainly aren't the only channels to influence purchase, but you can see how both these channels are so tightly intertwined in the way that they work in the customer journey all the way through. So if we start at the top of the funnel, we have ads in the awareness stage. If you're a relatively new store that doesn't have a ton of traffic, let's say hypothetically you have less than 2,000 unique visitors to your website per month, and you're getting a few orders here and there, but nothing really consistent. You may think your number one goal is to drive more sales, more conversions, but this may not be the case. What your store really needs is more brand awareness and more traffic. And prospecting ads or traffic ads are really great for that. And you can capitalize on that traffic to your site by having a sign-up form or a pop-up that entices people to subscribe to your email list. That in turn can open up opportunities further down the funnel. And we know that it can take an average of 8 to 10 touch points before a prospect makes a purchase on your site. So that's where email and, again, paid ads can really help to nurture your prospects all the way through the sales cycle and even bring them back for repeat purchase. Now, on the right side of the funnel, we have different metrics that measure success for both email marketing and online ads. Your measurement of success is going to be determined by your goal and which part of the funnel you're trying to influence. For example, if you're running prospecting ads for traffic, it's not really going to be helpful at that point to look at conversions. You're really looking at impressions and clicks and trying to optimize for that click-through rate at that point. Moving further down the funnel, when you're trying to cultivate that relationship between your brand and your customers, it's kind of at that point where you want to measure engagement, optimize for shares and likes, and maybe even click-through rate on your email campaigns. Then for the later stage in your funnel, conversion rate, ROAS, or return on ad spend start to become more important. This is that stage where you start to kind of optimize for those metrics. But the important thing here to consider is that you really want to match your metrics to your goal and not get lost in the weeds with all of the other data or noise. And the really big picture here to consider is that email marketing and online ads can work really well in tandem because it gives you the full coverage through your entire marketing funnel. And it's really a great foundation to build off of, especially for our newer stores who may not have that traffic. All right. With that, let's talk about some optimizations and take a look at some examples and areas where you can focus your time. All right. Oops. too far. All right, I started at the top of the funnel with what we call traffic ads or prospecting ads. So here you'll see a variety of different types. These are by no means an exhausted list. What you see here are a couple examples of web or display ads. And then we also have Google shopping ads, but there are a variety of different types of traffic ads you can run. For this, the Hermes apparel one that's shown here is what we call a web or display ad, the one at the bottom of your screen. These types of ads are cheaper to run and are great for driving brand awareness and provide a lot of reach. Think really high impression rates. They don't have as high of a click-through as something like social ads or even PPC ads, but you can get a lot of impressions and drive brand awareness with these ads. With social ads, customers are looking to engage with your content. So as they're scrolling through their feeds on Instagram or maybe Facebook, these ads are embedded in their feed. And it really gets them to engage better with your brand. So the social ads are designed to really generate more clicks, while the display ads really are better for reach. These two types of ads work really well together because one will provide that broad brand awareness and the other is going to provide more traffic to your site. When we look at optimization for these, so a couple of tips for optimizing these. And one of them is having really high quality lifestyle images. Simplified messaging with very limited text really grabs the attention. So you'll want to make sure that these are the kind of things that you test for. In the Urban Decay display ad on top, what works really well with this ad is the very simplified text, the sharp imagery, the really striking imagery actually, and the contrast that's built in. These are things that you can test for very cheaply. So you can run different variations of these ads and see what's resonating, what's getting the higher click-through rate. And you can also run tests on things like CTA and see what's driving better traffic. The second thing I want to talk through are sign-up forms. Sign-up forms may have a stigma to them because a lot of people think of them as annoying pop-ups, but more and more marketers are coming around to them. A lot of people are afraid that customers will leave immediately when they get a pop-up, but the good way to think about this is that if you have an incentivizing pop-up, chances are turning that casual site visitor into a subscriber are going to be better than if you just aren't providing an incentive. So it's worth experimenting with. A lot of people that try pop-ups and offer an incentive or discount see an increase in email signups and find that they work really well. Pop-ups generally get about a 3% conversion rate. So we suggest really using these and connecting them with your traffic ads so that you can capitalize on the people visiting your site. One of the things with pop-ups is they're highly versatile. You can add imagery to them. You can use them as a way to collect more data and really build up your database to work in tandem with your email strategy. So if you build your pop-up to, for example, collect preferences from the shopper with a question in addition to capturing their email, you can actually get a lot of mileage off of this as kind of a second touch point to your brand. So you kind of want to test different variations and think through what makes sense for how you're going to drive future touch points for connecting with your customers. The other thing is you don't want to have the same pop-up coming up all the time. So you want to be careful about setting that frequency cap, and then being sure that you're varying the offer. So a couple of best practices here. We suggest starting simple, testing a few things first, and testing the incentive. You can make pop-up forms as simple or as complex as you want them, but you don't want to go heavy on the fields. Data has shown that the more fields you add to a pop-up, the less chance you have of converting. So you really want to minimize the number of fields that you have, and don't really capture anything that's not absolutely necessary. The other thing is imagery is really important. Pop-ups with images perform 85% better than pop-ups without imagery. So incentivized pop-ups with imagery are going to be your best performers. So one idea might be to offer a discount for the customer's first purchase, offering free shipping to encourage kind of signups. Those are kind of the best practices we encourage. And these are a couple more examples that kind of show the versatility of how you can incentivize people to sign up for your email list, but also how you can reach out with preferences. So in the one on the right, the pop-up is capturing kind of the basic email, first name fields, but it's also asking the visitor to tell a little bit more about their interests. So in that way, you're able to capture additional information and use that information in your email marketing nurture programs. And the other one we see is kind of the standard incentive. Having an incentive really drives performance for signups, and entices a customer to make the purchase right away, as opposed to like waiting further down the line. All right. So the other piece of this with email marketing and email campaigns driving, kind of working in tandem with your ad strategy, is keeping, once you've kind of collected information about your prospects, is to help keep shoppers engaged. You want to keep those touch points with your brand strong, because remember, about 8 to 10 touch points is what it takes to get a purchase. So In these examples, the bold and free and belay brands, we have a couple of both welcome emails and kind of a product email as well. The important thing here is variety. There's different types of emails you can introduce, but you want to make sure that you're not always sending the same types of emails, because that can feel repetitive in your customer's inbox. And then the important thing here too is to calibrate how often to send your email and the best time to send your email campaigns. We always get asked how often and what's the best time and what's the best day. Truthfully, that's going to vary from brand to brand. It's all about testing and retesting your assumptions in marketing, because the best practices are always changing. So when people say Mondays are not a good day to send emails, it's always an assumption that you should question, because there are no hard and fast rules. The best days are going to be the best timing, and days are going to be the best for your customer list. And then really what drives the initial engagement for email campaigns is having really good subject lines. So those are the other things that you want to put time and effort into testing. We always recommend kind of an A/B multivariate test for subject lines, just because you want to optimize for open rate, because that's what gets you through the door. Prospects aren't going to be able to look at your offer and make a purchase if they don't open that initial email. So test. Emojis tend to work really well, but that is also something for you to test against your audience. Another part of the email marketing aspect that's really connected with the customer journey are the automated emails. This is important because automated emails oftentimes have higher performance compared to standard newsletter emails, and even your standalone one-off sort of email blasts. So an email automation is really great for a couple of reasons. One, they're a huge time-saving tactic. So if you have a small team, like we talked about in the beginning, or you're one of the people who have to do it all, email automations really become your friend. They allow you to really build kind of the relationship with customers based on behavior. So think abandoned cart, think back in stock emails, and they're really something that you take the time, you put in the initial time to set up, but they keep working for you in the background. It's a good way to keep in touch with your shoppers without having to constantly have the one-off sends. And they're also a great source of revenue generation. Back in stock, welcome emails, as well as abandoned cart emails, have some of the highest revenue attribution for emails. As far as best practices are concerned, definitely worth the time to put the work up front and get really dialed in for these automations, just because they're so key to your whole email marketing strategy. So what we talked about earlier to testing especially extends to your automated emails. Just because you can set them and forget it doesn't mean that you should. You want to go back to these and refresh them, maybe infuse that seasonal content, maybe test the offer language, test the promotions, and test the metrics. So because you can tie unique coupon codes and different offers to these automations, and measure kind of the attributed revenue, you want to have several different variations. You want to be sure you're testing imagery, you're testing different products, and that you're just using automation and the data that you're collecting to personalize these as much as you can. I talked a little bit about welcome emails earlier with automations, but I wanted to go a little deeper because the high-level stats for these really show that welcome emails have a really high performance compared to other emails. So on average, they have an open rate of 50% across the board. 74% of people who sign up for your newsletter expect to receive some kind of welcome email, some kind of touch point from your brand. And these actually get an 86% better response rate than newsletters. So there's a lot of ways to get creative with welcome emails. Oops. One of them is, if we take a look and kind of deconstruct these two examples, we can look at kind of the way they not only infuse their brand message with the all birds one on the right. They talk about kind of the materials, better things in a better way. So it's not only a warm touch point for the customer, it's kind of the first impression that really matters. But if you look at the one on the left with Eve, there's also a strong CTA tied to the welcome message to bring people back. So you're definitely looking at opportunities to not only make that great first impression, but test different ways to incentivize shoppers to either make a purchase right away. So Eve has the free delivery message right up front, but also testing different CTAs and seeing kind of what works better as far as what you can do with the welcome email. It doesn't have to be a static thank you message. There are a lot of strong variations where you can build in other calls to actions and compel the shopper, guide them to do take another action or browse a particular sale. Here's some other automation inspiration. So we have on the right another welcome email example. Deconstructing this, we have at the top a really strong kind of offer, which is a good way to kind of not only get the customer excited about your brand, but excited to buy right then. And then we just have strong imagery, kind of asking the customer where they want to start, what taking them back to the site to explore more. In the middle, we have the abandoned cart message. And if we deconstruct this, we can see that it's personalized. There's definitely the product imagery, which is important, tying back that visual reminder that somebody's left something in their cart. And as an additional incentive, there's a coupon code attached to them. There's different ways to execute the abandoned cart. Some schools of thought like to go without the incentive and then have a few touch points after, where if you're not bringing them back the first time with that initial abandoned cart message, then you push kind of the incentive to see if that will compel people to add what they forgot back to their cart and make that purchase. But you don't always have to offer the coupon code up front, something to test. And then on the left, there's another variation of the abandoned cart. Again, strong imagery and also a really strong incentive, but not something that you have to do off the bat. Those are kind of the examples that I wanted to walk through today. And with that, I'm going to wrap things up and open the floor for questions. If you want to get in touch with Springbot, our website is at the bottom. You can also contact us at the email below.
I know you walked us through a lot of things that Springbot can do, but give me the quick pitch, especially to the merchants. Uh-oh, I lost you. She closed her screen. Lisa, if you want to come back in, we can continue the conversation. But if in case she doesn't make it back, I'll give the quick plug on Springbot for you guys. It is a marketing automation platform, and it really is one of the most connected platforms I've ever seen. Honestly, I haven't heard a lot about them in the e-commerce space. They're not in the buzz the same way that everyone talks about Klaviyo or maybe Omnisend as an all-in-one channel solution. But they have more functionality in both Klaviyo and Omnisend in a lot of different directions, especially with their advertising integrations and their social integrations, makes them really unique as a platform for merchants that are looking for a cohesive multi-channel marketing strategy, including email, SMS, and other automations. Let's see, is she back? She's not back. Lisa, I'm sorry we cut you off there. Didn't expect you to bounce out quite as quickly, but really enjoyed the session, and thank you so much for joining us. Everybody that's still with me, thanks for hanging in here to the end. If you can give me 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as we wrap things up. I do want to give a special thanks to our sponsors. Let me find it. Dun, dun, dun. Our three main sponsors, if you didn't get their sessions, I think you get from the start of the day to the end of the day, everything really tied together. Here we go. Lisa, you're back.
I'm so sorry, Derek. I accidentally exited.
I know you went to close the window, and when you close the browser, you X'd out of here as well. I knew exactly what happened when it happened. All right, so maybe you can do even a better job than me. I'm putting you on the spot here. I wanted to hear more about Springbot because I know you covered a lot of components that Springbot can do in your examples, but I want the pitch. Why should I switch from another email service provider, let's say, or marketing automation platform to Springbot today? Tell me why.
Awesome. Okay. Love this question. Well, like I mentioned before, Springbot is really the provider to go to if you're an SMB who's looking to consolidate all your tools. We can pretty much do it all. So email marketing, certainly online ads, like I mentioned. And not only can we do both of those things very well, but Springbot has an amazing support model. So we have the capability to help you with those online ads. And so you can sign up for our Facebook campaign services or work with us on ads. And we're a lot cheaper than if you would pay like an agency to handle that. So there's that advantage. We just give you the tools to compete with the bigger stores at a much lower price point.
Yeah, I love it. The managed service component makes a ton of sense. So especially if you're feeling overwhelmed or lost, or this just isn't your forte, imagine having the experts at the helm and the platform to do it all in one place. I love it. Thanks so much, Lisa, for joining us today. I'll go ahead. I'm going to give my final blurbs and let everyone go here in a second. Thanks again.
Thanks, Derek.
All right. So to conclude, we're ending with the platform. And by the way, one of the things I really liked from Lisa, it's blanking. I had it in my head. Was we didn't cover back in stock notifications at all. And I think this is one of those often overlooked things from both SMS and email and really any other channel that you can send it on. You can get people to opt in, and then you can send those notifications, and even through a gorgeous customer service platform, or through live chat, or through Messenger, right? Being able to ping the consumer who is really interested in something and letting them know to come back to the site and buy, you'll see a huge purchase rate through those. And it's just a really fundamentally a great way to get people to opt in to certain things as well, which is kind of funny because you don't want to be out of stock, but if you can increase conversion rate, then it's a good thing to have. But at the end of the day, you do want to just sell the product. So I'm not saying find a product, make it out of stock, but there's some sort of scarcity component, FOMO, that people have when they realize that it's oversold or out of stock. So it's kind of a funny caveat there. All right. Anyways, to thank our three main sponsors. Again, Gorgeous, the help desk for e-commerce. They can be that backbone of communication, which we already said, conversational commerce, so important today in so many different ways to execute on it. HelpFlow can actually be that support team, the resources, the live chat agents that you need to increase conversion rate on the site and really work in conjunction of your Gorgeous support, your support team, which is on Gorgeous. And then Recart opens up a new channel, messenger marketing. We saw the power of click to messenger ads. And once people respond and start choosing their own adventure, they're going to have conversations. And so all of these three tools really work powerfully together. I also do want to give a shout out to my favorite tool out of all of these, which is just Pencil. Oh my gosh. Like, can you imagine the money saved in creative alone, is just absurd. And then seeing the increase in return on ad spend for any merchant that's spending like over $10,000 a month seems like this is the tool that you want to be investing in. And I think you can all see, as we talked about it earlier, how your video creative strategy is going to also tie into your review strategy, and it's going to tie into your augmented reality 3D overlay strategy, and it's going to tie into your conversational commerce strategy as well, because maybe comment responses will actually be the types of things that you put on display in the ad copy using Pencil. And maybe you'll have the ad actually be interactive and people will respond or DM you through it. So we can imagine all of these tools that we talked about here today really tying very well together. And I think each one independently proven and established in their market and innovating in really cool ways. So that's my rant on all that. If you're still here, thank you so much. I'm Derek from ecommercetech.io. You can book a tech consultation with me. We will review your stack, talk about all these tools. The last thing I want you to do is implement all of them today. We can build that roadmap on which one comes first. How do I build on top of it? How do I make sure my team will succeed with this tool? Is it at the right stage of my business, et cetera, et cetera? That is what we do. We do this as a free service, and we're building an entire platform around making sure that each merchant has an individualized growth roadmap for their business on the technology standpoint. So look forward to showing that to you one day. All right, that's it for me. So much for sticking around. I'll see you guys next time.